Hello, dear friend. This is Lena again, and I'm so glad you're here with me today. This story is one you won't want to miss. The magic that happens when we look for ways to help everyone win. So take a peaceful breath and let's journey together into a tale of friendship, kindness, and solutions that make everyone smile. Once upon a time, in a town where autumn leaves painted the streets in gold and crimson, there was an old theater called the Starlight. It had been closed for many years, its velvet curtains dusty and its seats empty. But 3 children, Oliver, Maya, and Jack, had a dream of bringing it back to life. Oliver loved acting and wanted to put on plays. Maya loved painting and dreamed of creating beautiful sets. And Jack loved music and wanted to fill the theater with songs. One Saturday morning, they all arrived at the Starlight Theater at exactly the same time, each with their own plan. "I'm going to use this theater for my play," Oliver announced, holding up his script. "No, I'm going to use it as an art gallery for my paintings," Maya said firmly. "Actually, I was planning to use it for concerts," Jack added, clutching his guitar. They stood there, looking at each other, and suddenly, the dream that had felt so bright began to fade. How could they all use the same theater? It seemed impossible. That evening, Oliver went home feeling discouraged. His grandmother was visiting, and she noticed his sad face. "What's troubling you, dear?" she asked gently. Oliver explained the situation. "There's only one theater, Grandma, and 3 of us want to use it. I don't know what to do." His grandmother smiled knowingly. "Have you ever heard of thinking win-win?" "Win-win? What's that?" "It's a way of looking at problems," she said warmly. "Instead of thinking that for you to win, someone else has to lose, you search for a solution where everyone can win together." This principle states that cooperation creates better outcomes than competition. It builds emotional security because everyone feels valued and heard rather than defensive or defeated. "But how?" Oliver asked, genuinely curious. "There's only one theater." "Well, Grandmother," said, settling into her chair, "let me tell you about 2 sisters I once knew, named Sarah and Charlotte. They both wanted to use their mother's big kitchen table. Sarah wanted it to do her art project, and Charlotte needed it to build a model for school. They argued and argued until their mother asked them a question. What if you both described exactly what you need, and we see if there's a way for both of you to get what you want?" "What happened?" Oliver leaned in. Sarah realized she only needed half the table and just needed to keep her paints from spilling. Charlotte discovered she needed the table for only 2 hours, not all day. So they made a plan. Charlotte would use the whole table first to build her model, and then Sarah would use half the table for her art, while Charlotte's model dried on the other half. Both sisters got what they needed, and they even helped each other. This example illustrates how win-win thinking requires understanding what everyone truly needs, not just what they initially demand. When people share their real needs, creative solutions emerge. Oliver's eyes lit up. So maybe if Maya, Jack, and I talked about what we really need? Exactly, Grandmother encouraged. Thinking win-win means believing that there's enough for everyone. It means being creative and kind enough to find solutions that make everyone happy. The next day, Oliver called Maya and Jack together. "I have an idea," he said. "What if instead of arguing about who gets the theater, we each explained what we really want?" Maya and Jack looked skeptical, but they agreed to try. Oliver went first. "I want to put on a play, but what I really want is for people to see stories come to life and feel moved by them." Maya nodded thoughtfully. "I want people to see beautiful art and feel inspired by colors and images." Jack added, "and I want to fill the space with music that makes people feel joy." There was a pause. Then Maya's face brightened. "Wait, what if we did all of it together?" "What do you mean?" Jack asked. "What if we created a show that has acting, art, and music? Oliver's play could have my painted backdrops, and Jack's music could be part of the performance." Oliver's eyes widened. "That's brilliant! The story could come alive through all three." "We could call it a multimedia performance," Jack said excitedly. "Each of us would get to do what we love, and it would be even better than any of us could do alone." This is the essence of win-win thinking, recognizing that collaboration often creates something more valuable than what any individual could achieve alone. It transforms scarcity thinking into abundance thinking. And so the three friends began to plan. But as they worked, they encountered another challenge. They needed money to fix up the old theater, and they only had enough funds for either new lights or new paint. "We need lights so people can see the performance," Jack said. "But we need paint to make the theater beautiful," Maya countered. Oliver remembered his grandmother's words. "Wait, let's think win-win. What if we asked the community for help? Maybe local businesses could donate supplies, and in return, we could put their names in our program? And maybe people who have skills could volunteer their time, and we could give them 3 tickets to the show," Maya added. "That way, everyone wins. The businesses get recognition, the volunteers get entertainment, and we get the help we need," Jack concluded. They spent the next week talking to people in the town. Mrs. Peterson, who owned the hardware store, donated paint. Mr. Chen, an electrician, offered to install lights in exchange for tickets for his family. The local newspaper agreed to promote the show if they could interview the children about their project. But then they faced their biggest challenge yet. There was another group of children who wanted to use the Starlight Theater for a dance recital on the same weekend the friends had planned their show. The leader of the dance group, a girl named Isabella, came to talk to them. "We've been planning our recital for months," she said, her voice tense. "We were told we could use the theater that weekend." Oliver, Maya, and Jack looked at each other. They could have fought over it, insisted their show was more important, or tried to force Isabella's group out. But they had learned something important about thinking win-win. Oliver spoke gently. "Isabella, tell us about your recital. What's it for?" Isabella's expression softened. "We're raising money for the children's hospital. Our little sister was treated there, and we want to give back." Maya's heart warmed. "That's beautiful. Our show is just for fun and to bring the community together." "What if," Jack said slowly, "we combined our events? We could do a whole weekend festival. Our multimedia show one day, your dance recital another day, and maybe even a combined finale?" Isabella's eyes widened. "You would do that?" "Why not?" Oliver smiled. "We all want to use the theater to bring joy. Together, we could reach even more people and raise more money for the hospital." This demonstrates advanced win-win thinking, not just solving immediate conflicts, but finding ways to create value that serves a larger purpose. When people focus on shared goals rather than competing interests, everyone benefits. And so, the Starlight Theater Festival was born. Over 2 magical autumn weekends, the theater came alive with plays, paintings, music, and dance. The community gathered, families laughed together, and children saw what was possible when people worked together instead of against each other. On the final night, all the children stood on stage together. Oliver, Maya, Jack, Isabella, and all their friends. The audience gave them a standing ovation, not just for their talents, but for the spirit of cooperation and kindness they had shown. Later, as Oliver's grandmother hugged him, she whispered, "You discovered something precious, Oliver. You learned that when you think win-win, when you look for solutions that help everyone, you don't just solve problems. You build friendships, you create trust, you make the world a little bit brighter. Oliver nodded, feeling a warmth in his chest that had nothing to do with the stage lights. It feels good, Grandma. It feels really good to know that everyone is happy. That's because, she said softly, when everyone wins, we all feel more secure, more connected, and more loved. You don't have to protect what you have or fight for your share. You can be generous and creative, knowing that there's enough for everyone. She tucked him into bed that night and continued, "Remember, my dear, thinking win-win isn't always easy. Sometimes you'll meet people who only think about winning for themselves. But if you stay patient, if you listen to what they really need, and if you believe that solutions exist where everyone can be happy, you'll find them. And even if someone else doesn't choose win-win, you can still be the kind of person who looks for it." Oliver yawned contentedly. "I will, Grandma, I promise." "And here's a secret," she whispered as his eyes began to close. "The more you practice thinking win-win, the more natural it becomes. You'll start seeing opportunities everywhere. At school, when two friends want the same toy. At home, when you and your siblings have different ideas. Even in your own heart, when different parts of you want different things. You can always ask, is there a way for everyone to win here?" As Oliver drifted to sleep, he dreamed of the Starlight Theater, filled with light and laughter, where everyone's gifts had a place and everyone's joy mattered. He dreamed of a world where people didn't have to fight over crumbs because they learned to bake bigger pies together. He dreamed of solutions he hadn't even imagined yet, waiting to be discovered through kindness, creativity, and the simple question, how can we all win? And so, dear listener, as you settle into sleep tonight, I want you to hold this thought in your heart. You never have to choose between your happiness and someone else's. When you think win-win, when you search for solutions where everyone can smile, you discover that there is more than enough. Enough love, enough joy, enough success for all of us. Tomorrow, when you face a disagreement or a problem, remember Oliver, Maya, Jack, and Isabella. Remember that the best solutions aren't about who wins and who loses, but about how everyone can win together. This kind of thinking builds friendships that last, creates communities that care, and fills your heart with the warm, peaceful feeling that comes from knowing you made the world a little bit kinder today. Sleep well, dear one, and dream of all the beautiful ways we can lift each other up. Good night.